Hey guys, I'm Jody.
I'm Justin.
We are Board Game Perspective, and today we are doing a mini review of these 3 games. These all are review copies, these 2 from Rio Grande Games and this from Leader Games, so thank you so much for sending us those games for review. So, what we're going to do is we're both going to talk about this game, Arcs, and then I'm going to talk about these 2 games. So Justin didn't play these 2. These are both Vladimir Suchy games, and I've wanted to try a lot of his different games, and so I'm going to be talking about those on the channel over the next several months. But Justin was interested in trying this one.
Yes.
So we are going to kind of talk about these different games, and we'll give our thoughts, and yeah, here we go.
Here we go.
In Messina 1347, players take the roles of noble families with land holdings in the countryside around Messina. They attempt to rescue people from the plague, putting infected people in quarantine and putting uninfected people to work on their estates. As the plague in Messina worsens, the players will build small, independent communities while attempting to control the plague with fire. Players will also have the opportunity to defy the plague and return the rescued citizens to repopulate the city. At the end of the game, the player who did the most for Messina is the winner. So this game is played over 6 rounds, and at the beginning and end of each round there's going to be some setup, some cleanup. For instance, you might have more plague cubes come out, you might have more citizens come out and different hexes, maybe some new tiles coming out. But each player is going to start with 3 lieutenants. So those are workers that you're going to be able to place out onto a different hex. But throughout the game, there are ways to get more lieutenants. So on a player's turn, you are going to first choose a hex and you're going to place out a worker onto the hex. So at the start of the game, you have those workers in your play area and they're going to be placing them out. But on future rounds, you might have them already out there, they're laying down, and you can move them. So basically you can stay on the same hex, choose the same hex, or move to an adjacent one for free. But if you want to move further, you can pay coins to do that. And then whatever hex you chose, you will first rescue a citizen if there is one there. And if there is a plague cube, that citizen has to go to your quarantine cabins, which is like another small little track that they have to kind of move through to get through quarantine to come out into your main estate. And then you can also fight the plague cubes. So to start the start of the game, it's 1 fire token per plague cube, but it's going to increase as the game goes on. So fighting the plague is beneficial because it also moves you up on one of the 3 tracks. But if you cannot fight the plague, then you're going to be collecting some rat tokens throughout the game. But there is a way to not get rat tokens if you can continually fight the plague wherever you go throughout the game. But I will say I have gotten rat tokens every game because that's the decisions you make. Rat tokens are going to be negative points at the end of the game and they will not be good for you. So you probably want to try to avoid accumulating a lot of rat tokens. And then after that, you are going to be performing the action of whatever hex you chose. Now there's a variety of actions out there. So some of them might just simply let you get different resources, different tokens. Some might let you move up on some of the registers. Some might let you move your overseer on your estate, and whenever you move your overseer, you get to potentially activate citizens that you have already placed onto your estate. And depending where the overseer is on the track, it might let you activate 1 citizen in one region, or 2, or 1 in 2 adjacent regions. So there's different areas. So there's different scenarios that could potentially happen with that. Another action is to upgrade your overseer, which might double the activations that you can do with your citizens. Another action is to potentially bump up your scroll board, one of the tracks. There's 3 different ones, and those are another way to kind of increase your points for the end of the game. For instance, you can bump up points that are scored per repopulation tile that you have put out on the player board hex area. Boat tiles you might have, and a number of buildings. Basically, it lets you increase the points per those categories. You can also upgrade your citizens to the other side. Some buildings, for instance, might provide better bonuses if the citizen is upgraded, and those upgraded citizens can also give you extra points. And some scenarios, for instance, to repopulate a hex might require upgraded citizens. Basically, you're just flipping the token over to its other side. And then you can also have a build action where there are many things you can build actually. You can do quarantine cabin whenever you do the production at the end of a round. You might get benefits for having citizens in quarantine. You can get wagons, which are really important to even repopulate, which we'll go over in a little bit. And then you can also get buildings, which let you get potentially coins, fire tokens, all kinds of benefits, points, during production of each round. Now there's always the option to potentially repopulate the tile instead of choosing the action on that hex. In order to do that though, you have to have a wagon and you have to be able to turn in the required citizens, whether they're upgraded, there might be some resources, but it's important because that can score you a lot of points at the end of the game. Points for the actual location, and then if your scroll board has bumped up on that track, each population tile might be worth more points. And if people go to that hex throughout the game, you get points then as well. So that's an important thing, but you have to have a wagon for each instance. So at the end of each round, there is some cleanups. There's setting up some new stuff. For instance, you might have more citizens come out. You have a new tile comes out. You have production of your building tiles, quarantine, citizens move over, and those might trigger some production bonuses. So there's some upkeep before the next round. And then at the last round, you kind of do in-game scoring, which is some things what we mentioned before. So like, for instance, your scroll board, depending on how many repopulation tiles you have. You can also score points based off of where you are on the 3 registers. There's also the rat penalty, which will be negative points, and there's some other ways to score as well. So overall, I really did like this game. This was one I've wanted to try for a while now, and it's another Vladimir Suchy, and actually I don't know how to say the name, Raul Fernandez Aparicio. So it was a duo that designed this game, but this is totally up my alley. There's a lot of decisions to make. There's multiple ways to score points. There are tracks. You got the register tracks. You have your scroll board tracks. I just really enjoyed this a lot. I really liked the estate board that you have with your overseer track. There's multiple tracks in this game. I do like that a lot. But I really do like the overseer track because you can put your citizens out on these different places to potentially get other benefits or actions, and depending which route you choose your overseer to go on, might trigger different things. So I really had fun getting the citizens and putting them in my estate, whether it was immediately or after taking them out of quarantine. That was just very satisfying for me. And I also just really enjoyed looking at all the different hexes and thinking about where do I want to go to get the available actions. Maybe I need to go to this hex right away because someone else might claim it first because it looks like a pretty good thing to do. There's just a lot of decisions to make, and I just really enjoyed it a lot. And I also really did like the aesthetic. I thought it looked pretty nice on the table. Got some vibrant colors. I really liked the estate boards. I just thought it was pretty well done. And like I said, I really enjoyed getting the different building tiles. So like you have your estate board, but then you might have building tiles on the side that you can put citizens in and potentially get more goodies during the production phase. Yeah, I really liked this. I really liked all of the concepts. I liked how, different play cubes come out and the citizens. I thought this was a really good game overall. I am definitely a Vladimir Suchy fan. I have yet to play a game that I haven't really liked from him. And of course, there's another designer as well. But this definitely has some of that Vladimir Suchy goodness in it. And yeah, that is Messina 1347. Let me know if you guys have played this one and what you guys think. I definitely do like this game a lot. The year is 1870. For centuries, sailboats have ruled the seas, but now the steam engine is beginning to dominate. Shipbuilders are experimenting with new designs, competing for the prestigious Blue Ribbon, which is awarded to the fastest ship to cross the Atlantic. It is an exciting time to run a shipyard, found a company, build a fleet, show the world that your ships are the fastest, the safest, and the best. In Shipyard, players are going to be taking turns, and on your turn, you're going to be doing stuff with these action tiles. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick up your previous action tile. You're going to pick up the cubes, you're going to pick up the tile, you're going to put it at the beginning of the track, and you're going to slide it in there, and it's going to move the wheel, which is going to be pretty much the game turn tracker, and so it will kind of track everyone's turns and will determine the end of the game as well, because the wheel will be moving around, and once the cube drops in the hole, then you take another cube, and whenever you've gone through all the cubes, then that's going to trigger the end of the game. So once the player has moved their previous turn's action tile, then they're going to select a new action tile. It can't have any other cubes on it. It can't be the one that you just moved. And it might be beneficial to put it more to the left of the track, because if you have other cubes, players' cubes, even your cubes, to the right of the one you chose, you can get some income. You get 1 guilder per action tile that has a cube on it to the right. And then you get to perform the action of the tile that you chose. And we'll go over all the different actions in a second. But first, let's talk about what might be triggered at the end of your turn, which is called the Shakedown Cruise. And this is where if you have completed a ship, it will set sail. This is where you'll be scoring a lot of points. You will be scoring points for the speed of the ship. You'll be scoring points for different crew, different cannons, and other things on your ship. And then you will also be scoring points potentially for what you pass along the routes that you have chosen. It might give you more points for having a certain amount of crew, or not a certain amount, a type of crew, maybe different symbols on your ships like lanterns. It also might trigger more points if you land on or pass the blue ribbon. There are a lot of different ways to score points, and the speed will also vary depending on what things you have on your ship. For instance, if a ship has at least 1 smokestack and 1 stoker, the base speed will be 4, but you'll be able to add more speed for things like sails and stokers and smokestacks, and so there's different variations of your speed that you can go. And it is important to note that every ship has to have a captain. If it doesn't have a captain, it's a worthless ship. You will not get any points. And of course, you have to make sure that the canal is long enough for however fast your ship is going, because if you run out of space on that tile and you drop off, then you don't score points. For the ship that is set sail, you will need cabins for your crew, except for your first captain. The first captain does not need any cabin, but if you put another captain out, it will need a cabin and it'll become an officer. And you'll need different mounts for different types of equipment. One of the main things you can do is build your ship. So you're going to be able to get different ship parts. Depending on which row you choose, it might cost some guilders. And you're going to be collecting ship parts and putting them out. And you're basically building, you can build multiple at the same time, but you have to lay them in such a way that ships can be completed. And each ship has to have 1 bow, 1 stern, and at least 1 middle part. So you can have like 1 small ship, or you can work on building a large ship. So you are slowly working them together. But at the end of your turn, if you have completed a ship, then it will set sail and do the shakedown cruise. Some other actions you can do are renting a canal. So you'll get one of those canal tiles, and either that'll be the one you have, or you might add it to one that you're already cruising through. You can also buy commodities tiles, which are very important because they will let you potentially sell them or exchange them as another action. There are 4 kind of rondel systems going on, and the exchange commodities is one of them. So each time you do one of these rondel actions, you can move the cube 1 space forward clockwise, but of course you can pay more guilders to move further along, and you're going to be getting whatever benefit is shown. So for instance, with the commodities, you can exchange your commodity tile and potentially get more crew, cannons, equipment, money. There's different variations of things you can get. You can also manufacture equipment and recruit crew as part of that rondel system. You will be getting those tokens and adding them to your board. You can also hire an employee tile, also through that rondel system, and that will give you some really good benefits throughout the game. So those are really important to get. So there are a lot of different actions to consider while you're playing this game, and figure out what you might need to and plan ahead for your shakedown cruise. So players will just continue this cycle, keep taking turns until that last cube has dropped in the hole, and that's going to trigger the end of the game. And you're going to do some end of game stuff, possibly finish building a ship, and you're going to be scoring some points in the game as well. For instance, some of your employee tiles might give you scoring, in-game scoring, and then also everyone will score their government contracts. And whoever has the most points is the winner. So this is one of Vladimir Suchi's earlier games, but this is a newer edition of it. And I really do like the mechanics of the game a lot. I really enjoy the concept of trying to build your own ship. It's fun trying to assemble it and kind of prepare for the shakedown cruise and figure out what crew I want and what different mounts I need, and just thinking ahead. I really do like that. So there definitely is a lot of planning involved in this game, because if you're just kind of going turn by turn and not really playing ahead, then you're not going to score a lot of points on the shakedown cruise. You got to make sure you have the right mounts and some crew, and you want to try to trigger those different icons that you pass through on the canal. So there's definitely a lot of planning and planning ahead in this game. So if you don't like to plan a lot, then maybe you may not like this game. Now, when it comes to the aesthetic, I'm kind of hit or miss. It's not my favorite look, favorite components. I do really like the wheel concept. It's kind of fun, moving the action tile, and that kind of keeps the game tracker going on. And I thought that was kind of a cool little mechanism. There's definitely the rondelle, so just pretty basic rondelle movement. I enjoy that as well. But when it comes to the appearance and look, I know some of it's because of it's like the 19th century, what was it, 1870? I can't remember. So it's kind of blah looking, but it's okay. I do really like the mechanics of this game, and I would totally be down to play this one. I don't think this is my favorite Vladimir Suchi game. Well, for sure it's not. I know it's not, but I still like the game. But if you enjoy having to build things in games and put together things, this might be one that you like, because you literally are putting together your ship. You're having to plan around and plan ahead and figure out what tiles I need, and having to get different crew and things, and you're literally building different ships. And when they set sail, you move them into your shipyard, and they go on that shakedown cruise. So if you like the idea of building things, well, especially ships, then this might be one for you to try. But overall, I think it's a good, solid game. Great mechanics. The appearance, not as much for me, but this is definitely a good game to try. Arcs is a sharp sci-fi strategy game for 2 to 4 players set in a dark yet silly universe. Ready yourself for dramatic twists and turns as you launch into this galactic struggle. Seize the initiative, take actions with multi-use cards, declare ambitions. In each game, you define the objectives that everyone competes over to win. Crush your foes, amass your navy for battle, plan your strategy with 3 kinds of dice, then roll them all at once to resolve the battle in a flash. So this game is played in chapters, and each chapter players are going to be taking turns, and whoever has the initiative will kind of start the turns. So basically, the player that has initiative will play the lead card, and then all the other players in clockwise order can also play a card and do one of 3 things. Surpass, pivot, or copy.
So Surpass would be playing a card of the same color or kind as the lead card, but it would be a higher number.
And you can take all the actions on that card, all the pips.
All of the pips. So that would be Surpass. Pivot would be if you play a card of a different kind, you could only take 1 action of that card kind.
And then if you copy, you play the card face down, and you can take 1 action of the lead suit. And all these different suits, for instance, construction, oh gosh, I can't remember all the names, but there's different cards, different suits, and each of those has different actions available on those cards that you can do. There are ways for players to kind of get initiative from someone else. You can play at the end of kind of the turn sequence. If no one had seized the initiative, and there's a higher value of the lead suit, then that player that played that card will then have the initiative. But there's ways, like if there's a 7 of the same suit that's played, you seize initiative. Or if somebody plays down basically an extra card face down, then you can seize initiative. So there's ways to kind of be able to play out that lead card. And that can be important because that's also a way that you can declare ambition.
True.
choosing one of the categories that everyone's kind of fighting over.
Yeah. And ambition is essentially what's going to get you points at the end of the game. So if
End
you
of
have
each round.
at the end of each round and gives you your total points. So you're going to want to be able to have maybe a little bit of control over what points you are possibly getting.
For sure. So now there are many different actions. So we're just going to briefly summarize them. So first off, we have build. That's where you can basically recruit out more of your ships or build out cities or starports. And starports is where you can build your ships. So you might want to, spread out your starports to build up your fleet all around the board.
Yeah. Then there's the tax action, where if you go to a city where you have control, whether it's your own or a rival city, if you have control of that city, you can tax it and get the resource that's designated to that area. Now, if you do that in a rival city, you can then get a captive that you can put into your own player area.
From that player, whoever the city that is, you get to take a captive. Then there's influence, where you're putting out your dudes on the cards to help kind of possibly get control of it in the future, which is through the secure action, where if you have more dudes, what are they called? I forgot what they're called.
Dudes.
I'll call them dudes. So if you have more and you take a secure action, then you can take one of those cards and you get a new ability, or gives you more symbols for ambitions, kind of a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. And then there's also the repair action, where, there's going to be battles and things like that going on, so stuff's going to get kind of destroyed, or at least partially destroyed, and then you can then repair or rebuild either your city or your starports, your cities, and things like that.
All kinds of things are going to be getting
you will need the repair
damaged. So you can move around the board, and there's also a way to kind of move further if you're moving from your starport. You can kind of catapult or whatever into another area.
Yeah, or sling. What was
but
the term?
I forgot the term. But if you go into a place where there's other people, then you obviously have to stop. But that's a faster way to move if it's from your starport. Otherwise, it's just basically like one for one movement.
Right. And then there's, as we mentioned, battles. And this is where it gets kind of fun and it gets a little mean. So this is the part that Jody doesn't love. However, for some reason, she still likes this game.
It's a necessity for this game. I mean, that's it. It's in your face. So you're going to be battling and rolling dice and taking stuff and destroying stuff.
Taking and trying to take stuff out. So it's kind of fun.
Basically, you're collecting dice for how many ships that you have. You're attacking ships. And then you get to choose your dice and you're going to be rolling them, and then you're going to be doing hits to the defender, and you might be getting hit back if you choose the more risky dice. And there's also ways to raid other people's stuff, and so there's just a lot of in your face during the battle.
Yeah, there's 3 different kinds of dice that have 3 different levels of kind of risk involved. There's some that don't do anything back to you, there's some that can do stuff back to you, and so you kind of have to play that game of.
And there's some that let you raid people. If you're like in their city or something, you can raid and basically get enough keys to steal other people's stuff.
So that's always kind of fun, trying to figure out how much damage do you want to do, but how much damage are you willing to take in return. So
like we said earlier, the once the round is over, basically when everyone's cards are out or everyone has passed, then the ambitions are scored. And if you have the most, second place, there's different varying points, and different ambitions might be chosen for each round. Mm-hmm. It's whatever's there, that's what everyone's going for. Yep. And then at the end of each round, you're basically checking for end game. And it's either if someone has reached a set power amount for the player count, then the game's over, or if you have reached the 5th chapter, then the game is over, and whoever has the most points is the winner. Mm. So this was one of those games where, I like to watch a lot of YouTube videos and such, and I was watching some stuff on this game, and Justin walked by and was like, "Oh, what is that? That looks really interesting." And I was like, "Oh, is it? Well, let's try it." And so we got to try it. I got him to try it with me, and I was surprised because this is one of those little more epic feeling space battle-y types of games. But it has a trick-taking element in it, and he loves trick-taking trick-taking games. And it looks cool, so I was like, okay, let's give it a try. So, what do you think about it? Do you like it? In the middle, not at all?
Well, I mean, you mentioned the trick-taking element, and that's something that, I certainly do like and enjoy. And as we're playing the cards out, you can pivot, or you can, kind of do different things in order to, it's an interesting way that they utilize the cards in this game. And then with the dice and kind of the risk reward that you kind of have to kind of weigh whenever you're doing the dice rolling, it's like you grab the dice that could give them more damage, but at the same time it could knock you down as well. I kind of like playing that game too, that risk reward stuff. So those things I felt like were really made this game pretty fun. So I think
the main thing I heard from you is that you like the game, but it just went a little too long for you.
I would say it seemed like it just kind of drug out because we played it multiple times, and each time we played it, it was a good 3 hours, I think.
Well, it definitely depends on the player count, and obviously our first time playing it took extra long for hashing through the rules and stuff. But yeah, it does feel like a longer game. Especially, sometimes we're not like the speediest gamers. We'll sit there and think about kind of what we got to do. Maybe not the extent of analysis paralysis, but sometimes we are there. I don't know. So it definitely is a longer feeling type of game. Mm-hmm. And this is very much in your face game. So if you don't like any player action, then this game is not
player
for you.
Interaction, yeah.
So I don't understand myself, because this game frustrates me so much, but yet I have fun playing it. It's this weird feeling. And I get that a lot with area control games, battle-y games, like in-your-face games. I don't understand it.
I don't know, the production of it probably helps too.
Oh yeah, the production is outstanding.
You look at it on the table, it's like, wow, that's
it's
cool.
Very outstanding, but this is definitely an in-your-face game. There's a lot of battling, conflict, but at the same time, I enjoy it. I don't understand this. But it's a really good game. I totally see why this is such a popular game right now, because it really is. It has some unique trick-taking elements in it, and it's just really good. And the production's outstanding. I really, like you said earlier, I really enjoy that you can choose your dice. Mm-hmm. I really like that. There's 3 different types of dice, and you can mix and match whatever you want. I really do like that. I like that a lot in this game.
Yeah. So overall,
I think it's a pretty positive experience from both of us.
Positive, yes.
Yes.
I definitely will put it on the list of games that, yes, I will play this again.
Oh, well, that is wonderful news. Anyway, that is our thoughts on ARX.
And that is our review of these 3 games, ARX, Shipyard, and Messina. So, tell me, since you played all 3 of these, what's your ranking?
So, I'm kind of torn for the number 1 spot. Like, I can't figure out which one. It's definitely between these 2. These are my types of games I really like. This one is like a weird, like, love-hate relationship. It's like has elements that really just make me so frustrated, but I still really enjoy it. With this is a very in-your-face game. I typically don't like those as much, but I really like it. Oh my gosh. I think I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3. I think that's how I'm feeling right now.
Okay, right now.
It might change.
This moment.
It might change, but right now I'm feeling 1, 2, 3.
Well, there you have it. 1, 2, 3.
No, you got it wrong. This is not 1. I said 1, 2, 3.
I got it wrong. 1, 2, 3. So there it is. That's our review. Tell us in the comments below what's your ranking of these if you guys have played them, or what's your ranking in the order that you would like to play them. So if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and we will see you guys on the next video.
Bye bye.